Yeah, I've already proven to myself several times today that I need them. I need these strategies for living. So, are you ready? Are you ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
I am ready.
Yeah, well, the question is, am I?
I wasn't quite ready earlier, but I'm ready now.
Okay,
so.
Well, that's all that counts. The now is what counts,
that's
right?
All we have.
So welcome, folks. Welcome into this daily dose of radio rehab that we call Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. I'm Dr. David McMillan, and she is PLPC Lauren Leon McMillan, and we're delighted that you've joined us here on Strategies for Living. Can you believe it? It just seems like it was day before yesterday. The kids were getting out. The summer was ahead of us. Can you believe school is starting already?
Yeah, time is funny like that, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I know, Caddo and Bossier start this week.
Teachers, I think, have gone back here already.
Yeah. In our listening area, of course, maybe every school hasn't started yet.
Right.
But, I think it's safe to say, in the next
couple
weeks or so, everybody's going to be back in school. So here we go again. Ready or not, here we are. And I thought it would be good to just think about, the seasons. Even though the weather's not going to change.
Well, eventually. Yes.
Eventually it will. But I mean, right now, school will convene, and it's still going to be hot,
yes.
Summery, all of that. But definitely the start of every school year is a new season, a new beginning, a new opportunity, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And, how do you prepare for that? How do we as parents, as grandparents, as supporters, we may have some students listening. How do we as students, how do we prepare ourselves? And I think it's different at different levels. I mean, at the primary school level, it's different from the middle school level.
Maybe. Yeah.
Different again at the high school level, certainly different at the college level.
Yes.
And yet, some of the same,
themes.
Maybe some of the same themes, same
issues resurface. There's cycles that we go through.
And so I thought that would be good to strategize a little this evening here on Strategies for Living.
Sounds good. Sounds timely.
Yeah, and we'll follow that up. Denisa Walker from Learning RX will be here with us tomorrow.
Ooh.
We'll see what she has to say.
Looking forward
but we'll
to
begin
that,
the
as
conversation.
always.
Yeah, we'll begin the conversation today talking about how do we prepare for primary and preschool and middle school and high school and college.
Cool.
Yeah. Going back to school can be cool.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Excellent.
And we are brought to you by the Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Learning RX, and Pintail Roofing, and Hempress Cannabis with Love, and the Balance Life Wellness Center. Back in a moment. Going back to school, getting ourselves ready today here on Strategies for a Living. Stay with us. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center. I say it a lot. There's no place like the Robinson.
Absolutely, there is not.
617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. You've got so much. You got the movies. You got Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor of RFC, open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday.
Newly remodeled.
Absolutely. Great menu. RobinsonFilmCenter.org is the way you check it all out. You can go to RobinsonFilmCenter.org at any time and find out what movies are showing. Here's the deal. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. When you become a member, you become a star. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street in downtown Shreveport. I'll say it again. There's no place like the Robinson.
There is not, and I'm glad we have one right here.
Absolutely. The RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, Maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending. Learning RX Report offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning RX Report. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child. So does Learning RX Report.
And welcome in. Welcome into Strategies for Living here on 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. Like it or not, the new school year is upon us. And, it may be a little different depending on what educational level we are getting our kids ready for. And, I think, we're getting our kids ready, but I think we have to get ourselves ready, too.
Absolutely, we do. I know a lot of parents who are excited to send kids back to school, and yet it is still a huge transition for everyone involved.
Absolutely, absolutely. What's your what memory comes up when you think of this time of year, Lauren? What's the main thing that comes up for you memory-wise in preparing to get back to school? You and I were what the first thing is. You and I were in Office Depot,
yes,
picking something up the other day, and you said you finally remembered because of the time of year there were some back-to-school shoppers doing their thing, right?
Yes,
and you shared with me. This was my favorite place at this time of year.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite things to do because it kind of got you, it's like a little reward to get you started and to get you ready for what you're going into. I get to get organized and pick out things that I like,
Yeah.
But I also, when you say that, I have to also admit that I still have a physical bodily reaction to the idea of going back to school.
That does not surprise. That doesn't surprise me because there's quite a difference in our ages, right?
Yes.
But I still have the same thing.
Yeah. It's in the stomach for me. It's
me too.
Stomach
yeah,
flip.
Me too.
And it's a combo, right? It's anxiety and it's excitement. It's moving into the unknown. And I have to share this memory. I do. Because it took me so long, even after I was done with school, to really reprogram this quote unquote, I'm going to call it a little T trauma, that every time the school bus would pass, I would freak out because as a kid, I missed it so often.
And
thank goodness I lived in a cul-de-sac. Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't truly miss it, but I had to, catch it on the way out.
Right. Instead of on the way in when you should have been getting on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so even I remember living in my first apartment by myself, and I heard a school bus and the physical reaction that happened inside me was startling.
Yeah. Well, you're bringing up something that I think is important on all levels, and that is to pay attention to our own and tune in to, your students, your students at the beginning of this new year. Tune
Students
in,
being from the parent point of view.
From the parent point of view, as a parent or grandparent or caregiver. Tune in to what it appears is going on with your little one.
Well, and big time communicate, ask,
Yeah.
And be open to all the answers, and if you can, just like we've been talking, really remember what it was like.
Ask
and have
share.
some empathy,
Yeah.
I remember being nervous going back to school, right? I mean, having conversations like that can be so impactful and empowering for everyone involved.
Absolutely. I was surprised about the whole dadgum thing.
Yeah?
I mean, what do
you mean?
I came along, my brother and sister respectively are 12 and 9 years older than I am, right?
Right.
I come along, 9 years later at a point that I guess my parents, God rest their soul, God bless them, they were wonderful parents, But by the time I came along, it was a little chaotic. I mean, it's
Sure.
like they weren't ready to do
Again. Right. They had to start from the beginning. They had
And-
almost grown people leaving the house.
Yeah, exactly. They
Right.
were kind of, and so I get it. But nobody told me that, I went to kindergarten back in my day was not,
Actual in-school kindergarten.
No, I
required.
went to Crumplebeck Kindergarten. Gertie Crumplebeck she lived in Plantation Park in Bossier, and she converted her garage into a kindergarten room. And it's wonderful, but we just went 8 to 12.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that I ended up going into first grade with, Tim Murray, John Terracina, those folks, also went to Crumplebeck Kindergarten. And, but, and so that was fun, and it was just 4 hours a day, right? But when first grade came along, again, the house was a little chaotic. I remember that a friend of my parents was painting, and when the first day of school came around, their friend Tex Warner was painting in the bedroom, and my mother asked him, would you walk him across the street? Because I went to Christ the King school right across the
right.
street. Would you walk him across the street to, bring him to school?
And this was your first day?
My first day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the heck was going on. And I thank goodness, I had a wonderful first grade teacher. I've talked about her before, Sister Mercedes. She ended up, I called her my girlfriend. She called me her boyfriend.
Right.
But still, it was a little bit traumatic. If I'm, here's this guy, this big old tall guy, Tex Warner, walking me across the street in his painter outfit. He wasn't a painter, but he was just doing, he was
helping
out.
House, yeah.
But he had his painter outfit on and everything. And so he, took me by the hand, walked me across the street. And, where am I and what am I doing here?
Right.
And I can remember, to this day, I remember the sense of confusion within me. So I wasn't at all prepared for what was going to go on for the next, 12 years or so.
This guy just walking you across the street.
And my point is, it took a little while to get caught up. I wish I had kind of known, okay, well, this is what's going to happen. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't assume
that they understand what's going on.
Especially for the early ages, the pre-kindergartners, the preschoolers, the kindergartners. Early on, talk to them
about what's going on.
About what's going on
and where they're going
what's
and what
ahead.
to expect.
Yeah,
because that's a huge shift, especially if you're going straight from home to school, right? But I think these days, a lot, if not the majority of people and kids are going to some sort of preschool or daycare.
Yeah.
And so they're at least used to something. But yeah, that would be a shock to the system. Especially, I would think it'd be even more confusing that you're just walking across the street. So it doesn't have quite the boundary that a lot of people have.
I had a client tell me several years ago that picking up, her son after kindergarten graduation, they're driving back home and he puts his feet up and he says, God, I'm glad to have my education behind me.
Oh, buddy.
He didn't know.
Yeah.
And
what a disappointment and a shock.
Yeah, but he had graduated. He heard
pomp. It makes sense.
He heard pomp and circumstance. He had the little
he had done it. He had done it. Across the stage.
Got his diploma. I mean, the whole 9 yards. And he put his feet up, and God, I'm glad to have my education behind me.
Smart kiddo.
Yeah, well, so.
I didn't get one of those.
Yeah?
Yeah, I didn't.
What, a kindergarten graduation?
Yeah.
I got a kindergarten graduation.
It started the year after me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those things.
I can't recall a lot, but I know we made the little, hats, the So I remember that. I remember we made the little hats, put the tassel on them.
I never got a
that.
hat until the 12th grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do something about that.
It's okay. I've got 3 now.
There you go. So I think routines are important in the early years.
I think they're important in all the years.
Yeah, I do too, but I especially establishing routines, setting consistent bedtimes, setting consistent wake up times.
Yes.
I
I would even go so far, especially in the younger kids, to start, and this might sound crazy, but even a whole week ahead. Maybe not that far ahead, but a couple days, start by backing up the bedtime, because you know how we've gotten, people get over summer. We get relaxed.
Yeah, we get relaxed, and you can be relaxed.
Staying up, but...
I think breakfast is a very, very, breakfast may be the most important meal of the day and you spent a while studying, neuroscience.
Yes.
We're fueling.
We're
fueling the brain for
and it's
what's ahead.
Quite contrary to my early practices in life as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But yes, it is well known, and it's way less about when you eat breakfast actually, and more about what you break the fast with.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because
what your first meal is. Period.
There's a lot of alternatives out there. A lot of them are very sugary.
Yes.
And so what are we doing? What are we fueling our children's brains with?
Yeah, because and a lot of times they have a long time to go before they get to eat again.
Yeah. And keep in mind that if we put a ton of sugar on board at breakfast time, remember that
crash.
That's going to bring those kiddos up, and then the quote unquote crash, they're going to come down as
farther,
as far as they go up in terms of sugar in their system. And that's going to happen within about a 3 or 4 hour period.
Yeah.
Right. So be aware of that. We're talking about getting ready. Getting ready for school days. And is it school days or school days?
Ha ha ha.
Which are we in? And what's our household going to be like? Talking about things to consider at the primary school level, at the middle school level, high school level, even the college level. Talking about that today here on Strategies for Living. We've got more to talk about. We've got more strategies. And I hope you'll stay with us here on Strategies for Living. We'll be right back. Dealing with stress, pain, feel like you're running out of options? When your life is balanced, wellness is a given. True wellness is holistic. It's about the mind, the body, and the spirit, all in balance. Now, there's a place right here in Shreveport that's all about helping us achieve peak mental, emotional, and physical health. The Balanced Life, 117 Kings Highway, right next door to Strawn's. Come see and feel the difference getting your life in balance can be. Many of your friends and neighbors have already learned the difference less stress and pain mean in their lives. You can book a discovery session right now online, thebalancedlife.us. All you've got to lose is stress, pain, or maybe both. Come see and feel for yourself the real difference balanced wellness makes. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, 117 Kings Highway in Shreveport, next door to Strawn's, thebalancedlife.us. And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, talking about like it or not, ready or not, school is here. And how important is it, Lauren, on the elementary school level to meet our child's teacher? How important is that, do you think?
I would think that would be pretty important.
I think it's vital.
mean,
I think it's absolutely vital.
Because this is the person that your kid is going to be, well, really, essentially raised by most of the time, most of the day.
For the next 9 months.
They will see your child more than you do for the next 9 months, perhaps.
Yeah.
At least during waking hours, right?
Yeah.
So I think, I would have to agree with you that from my point of view, it would be vital.
Now I know depending on the school situation, it may be, a teacher may have 25 kids that they're dealing with. So that may be 25 to 50 parents to meet, right? Depending on how many, how many parents in each household or want to meet the teacher. But I think it's important to especially take advantage of any kind of orientation or meet the teacher events that are taking place at your child's school.
I mean, not only is it vital for you, but I also think it's vital that your children see and know that.
Yep.
Because to them, it's the kids, it sends the message that, hey, mom or dad or grandma or whoever really cares.
Absolutely.
And they want to know and be involved with this person that I'm involved with all the time.
And I think to a degree, it's the same thing when it comes to getting the school supplies, getting the school supplies in order, right? And getting all of that in place, because I mean, obviously, it's important for children to be prepared, but it also sends that message that we're in this with you, kiddo. We're investing. We're making sure that you're set to learn,
you're prepared, and you have all the supplies that you need.
Absolutely.
I mean, we briefly talked about it in the beginning, but to me, the whole school supply going to get it was actually very ritualistic as well. Yeah. It was a way to prime me. Okay, this is the season that we're entering.
Let's keep in mind how important rituals are to human beings. The traditions, the rituals. We're people of the story. Yeah. And some of the ways we keep up with our stories are the traditions and rituals. And back to school, preparing, whether it's back to school shopping or, again.
And I think even to bring that down to the daily, in as much of a way as you can, like to help your child with a bedtime ritual. As well as a morning ritual.
Yep.
Just to set the day and to have some sort of semblance of order and something structure in their lives. Absolutely.
And that could go under the category of healthy habits. Yes. To reinforce good hygiene. Again, tune in, make sure that your child is brushing their teeth, combing their hair, doing all of the ADLs, the activities of daily living. Yeah.
Which can become even more important because as you go back to school, even if you're excited, there's some level of stress that comes up. And with stress can come the degradation of health, right? And so it's important to maintain it in all the areas that we do have control over.
Right. And, we were mentioning breakfast earlier. Balanced nutrition comes into this.
Oh, big time.
So feeding breakfast and making sure that it's a healthy, balanced breakfast, just not loaded with sugar. And then if you're sending lunch, some people pack their lunch and send the lunch. So, again, make sure that that's balanced nutrition being provided to your child. I know that school lunches certainly attempt to do the balanced nutrition, but depending on the school and the circumstance, that your child may not necessarily get that, depending on the choices that they might make given what's available to them.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have any doubt that the schools who provide lunches provide the healthy,
rituals like this also are ways that you can help get your kids involved and give them some autonomy.
Right.
Right. Get them involved in choosing, hey, what would you want within reason, right?
Right.
And that reason can become less and less. Parents can back off more and more as the child grows. With more freedom comes responsibility.
Right.
Right.
A little trick that parents can use is,
choice.
Again, is the choice thing, but, limit the choices,
right.
maybe between 2 or 3, and make sure that all 3 of them are healthy.
Right.
That have
Would
enough.
you like oatmeal or a bagel?
There
right?
you go. Yes. And again, there's nothing wrong with adding a little bit of a treat to that.
Sure.
But the treat...
Moderation.
In moderation, instead of the treat being the main dish, which it is so many times. So again, I think that kind of preparation, and that may just take a little bit of advanced planning for our parents.
And I'm going to say something, and you can come back at me with this, but I'm going to open it up for discussion. But I would say, if you've got a kid who's putting up a big fight about not wanting to eat breakfast.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I would say, I would opt for, okay, don't eat breakfast and let them face the consequences and decide for themselves over making each morning a rigorous game of control to get out the door.
Yeah. I was a kid that, and this amazes me based on how much I like breakfast now.
Yeah.
But I was a kid that did not. My mother. That's one thing I will give. As the school year progressed, she would get up every day and make sure that we had bacon and eggs or sausage or whatever. And but I was not a breakfast fan.
I wasn't either.
As big of a breakfast fan as I am now. I love breakfast now.
Yeah.
But I didn't back then, and it was a hassle. It could be a hassle. So I would tend to agree with you. Don't get into a power struggle. Early in the day. Stay out.
You can stay curious and ask questions.
Wonder what that's about. Yeah. And go on a hunt for okay. Well, let's go to the grocery store together. Let's think about what might be good for you that you would like. To start your day.
Yeah.
I know you don't like this as much as the idea of fresh. But nowadays, the frozen breakfast choices available to us, making things quick and easy in the morning. They're a little more expensive, than the fresh.
Often have more preservatives.
And they often have more preservatives. However, again, this is
balance.
This is balance, yeah. I think, we touched on this earlier, but the emotional preparation is important.
So
Talking about, okay, even if we're into, this isn't the first day of preschool or the first day of kindergarten or the first day of first grade, even if we're on into primary school, let's say we're going into the 3rd grade or into the 4th grade, school represents the start of school represents new beginnings, right?
Right. Well, I think even all the way up through college, it continues to do that and continues to, like I said, produce some form of stress, even if it's eustress.
So let's talk about what to expect. Let's address any anxieties or questions that children have. And I had a young man, a neighbor, knock on the door a couple weeks ago and just wanted to know if there was something, anything that he could do to earn some money. And I happened to be aware because we've talked to the neighbor, and, I was aware that this young man did summer school during the summer. So I shook his hand and offered him, what I had. In terms of a job, and I asked him. I said, "Well, school's just around the corner. What are your plans for this next year?" And he looked at me and said, "I'm going to do I'm going to do good. I'm going to do good."
Yeah.
And he said, "My plan is to do school different." And so I was happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And I didn't say that I knew he had been to summer
Right.
school or whatever. That's not important. But I was happy to hear his attitude, towards the new school year. And I think that's one thing that we as parents need to figure out. I think the majority are like this young man, are like our neighbor.
Yeah.
Have high expectations. How can we as parents and grandparents and support, how can we keep that going, keep that maintained
Throughout the school year.
throughout the school year? I think it's important.
I think so too.
Yeah. The attitude that we've got is and especially the attitude that we start with is a big time sponsor of what the school year is going to bring.
Sure.
The middle school years, any differences here?
Oh, Lord.
Oh.
I think we can all attest to that as people who have lived through them.
Yeah. I think I think that there are some real differences when we get into middle school and high school. So but again, I think that there's still some organizational things. Even if your child has been fairly organized in the earlier years, you might not just take for granted that it's still that way.
Yeah, because we've got a lot of extra biological things coming on board that might stir that up.
Changes are on board. And from a parent's point of view, I mean, when does it start? Does it start at 10, 11, 12, 13? I mean, it's not magic,
9,
right? So you got to kind of watch. We'll talk about that and more when we come back. We'll talk about some things to be aware of in middle school, high school, and college as we get ready. Ready or not, school year starting. Talking about it today here on Strategies for Living. Stay with us. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into 1017 FM, 710 Keel, and another edition of Strategies for Living. Talking about some important strategies today as we prepare for the new school year. And ready or not, it's upon us. How do we get ourselves ready? How do we help our kids get ready? If you're married to a teacher, how do you help him or her get ready? Because it's all of that is important.
Absolutely.
This is an important human developmental marker, time, moving from one year to the next. And so in the middle school years, I mean, again, there's so many internal changes, Lauren, that happen developmentally. And we've got the range. We know what the range is, right?
In terms of
the ages, the developmental age range,
Well,
but
then
we
also,
don't know a specific, what, I'm thinking of puberty. It can kick in as early as
9.
Yeah. And as late as
15.
Yeah. And you might, and there's no, it's not fair to say, oh, the child is behind.
And it's not anything that drops in overnight either. It's
Right.
very slow, especially if you're living with the child, right? It's going to be very...
Yeah.
Although it could
I'm chuckling
seem,
because
it could seem pretty sudden to them as
I'm
well.
chuckling because of that. I've heard many times
it could
through the
go
years.
Either way, right?
I mean, I put my child to bed, my sweet little innocent, and he woke up the next morning.
Inside Out 2 did a great job of depicting that, by the way.
Yeah.
Also, actually.
Yeah. If you haven't seen that movie, I know we talked about it. We did a program on it. But it's a great movie to
do a final goodbye to last summer, hoorah, go see Inside Out 2.
There you go. Open communication.
So this is a tough one, especially with this age, right? But as much as you can to keep that line open, and I would say to be prepared because of this time, the relationship between parents and children drastically change. Right. And so
talk about those changes.
Yeah.
Talk about them. Even if you don't get talked back.
Yep. It's
don't
so important.
assume that they're not listening to you. And don't make the assumption because so much may have seemed to change overnight. Don't assume that you're no longer the most important person in your young person's life.
Right.
They may not want to show that to you after, after the onset of puberty. It's not cool. It's, However, that doesn't mean that it's not there.
And, what else you can do is to help develop for them an external support network.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whether that's other adults or older, peers from church, from sports groups, a therapist, right? Whoever it is, help them to build other support networks so that it's you're not alone.
Absolutely.
None of you, neither of you are alone in it.
At the middle school level especially, I think this communication thing is important. I think social skills are important.
Yes.
I think homework habits are important. In a lot of cases, there's a shift that goes on. And this is different school to school, classroom to classroom. But for the most part, you may not have had a whole lot of, homework in the earlier years, but that may shift during the middle school years.
Yeah. I think there's a lot more homework going on in elementary school now too, as well, though.
Maybe so.
From the kids that I've been around today. Anyway.
That varies from school to school. I know there are a lot of schools that give a kid the opportunities during a school day to do the work. If that work's not done, then it becomes homework. Right. But that's all stuff that needs to be talked about, and all of that, becomes a habit. So establishing a designated homework space, routine, and time. Yeah. I really encourage that.
And especially for middle schoolers, I would say try to make this a mutual goal thing. Not coming.
We're doing this together.
Right, not coming at it from, well, you have to do your homework from this time to this time at this table, right?
Yeah.
More along the lines of,
let's do this. Let's plan this together.
How can I help you to get what you need accomplished?
Right.
What would be best for you? Would you like to set up a specific area? And would you like me to help you with time reminders? Absolutely.
As we get into the high school years and the college years too, but especially beginning in the high school years, academic planning is extremely important. So helping your young person review their course schedule, their academic goals for the year, and perhaps even balancing. I think extracurriculars are very, very important.
I think they're incredibly important.
And they begin to be more and more important at the middle school years, but on into the high school years, I think they even become vital. And we want to encourage involvement in clubs, in sports, but
balance.
There's got to be a balance there.
Yeah.
There's got to be a balance between academics and extracurricular. I don't know whether this is good or not so good, but it's the fact, and that is during high school, preparing for what's beyond high school, whether that's going to be college, whether that's going to be some type of specific skills education.
Right.
That's gonna vary based on the young person. But I think talking about that
so important
is extremely important.
Talking about it.
Yeah, and then especially during high school, fostering independence, as much independence as your child shows you. I think independence has to be directly correlated with how much responsibility your young person is showing. And I think that needs to be communicated. No secrets.
No.
We're going to give you as much independence in terms of, because, you're working towards, if you are going to college, you're going to be out of the house probably, or if you're going off to
technical school or
whatever kind of advanced trade school, college you're probably going to be out of the house. So you need to practice
being out of the house.
And making independent decisions. So that independence is important. The other thing is mental health, being aware of stress levels and encouraging conversations about mental health and mental well-being. Really kick in at the middle school and high school levels.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I think they're important at all levels.
Yeah,
but again,
once those hormones get involved, it can really amplify things.
Absolutely. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to talk about. And we just barely scratched the surface of all of this.
Are we ready for school yet?
Ready or not, here it comes. Hopefully we gave a few strategies to think about as the school year is here. And we'll be back here on Strategies for Living. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
Man, these programs kind of go like the school year. They just fly by.
Did you blink your eyes too fast?
Yeah, maybe so. This particular piece of bumper music is called "Fall Is in the Air." Yeah.
Very appropriate.
Does this sound like fall? I don't know. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living as Lauren and I'm David McMillan. When talking about ready or not, the school year is here. Kind of what's your takeaway from what we've been talking about today? We've covered a lot of ground. We usually do cover a lot of ground, but we've covered a lot of ground today here on Strategies for Living. What's your takeaway, Lauren, from what we've discussed today?
I think some of the big highlights we've hit are communication, right? Almost what we call in couples to stay up to date, right? Staying up to date with your kids. Like, where are you? How can I best help you?
And there's a real balance there. We're not talking about helicoptering now.
No.
I think,
And I would add maybe to gear up communication to use "I noticed" statements.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I noticed that you seem a little anxious
Yeah.
about school. Is that
Am
right?
I seeing that right? Am I getting that right?
I notice.
Yeah. And that's different from "you are."
Right, because that's an assumptive statement.
Yeah. It's an assumptive and it's a challenge.
Yes.
And so we want to try to stay away from those challenges, and we want to stay away from those power struggles. It's a new beginning all the way around. It's a new beginning for our kids. It's a new beginning, new opportunity for all of us. So there you go. And we'll look forward to having Denisa Walker with us tomorrow to further.
She'll have lots of good strategies.
I think she will too. Folks, thank you. Thank you for being with us today here on Strategies for Living. We appreciate it. We appreciate our sponsors making it possible. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Learning RX, Pintail Roofing, Hempress Cannabis with Love, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.